Starting right now, a special edition of This Week Terror Flashpoint. All of Europe on edge. In London, police on their highest alert ever. In Belgium, a plot foiled. In its final hours, soldiers now deployed on the streets. It's a worldwide terror crackdown. This morning, we're answering the urgent questions. Can Europe prevent another attack? And are there sleeper cells here at home? From the global resources of ABC News, a special edition of This Week, Terror Flashpoint. Here now, Chief Global Affairs Correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
Good morning. So many developing stories this weekend, just 2 days from the President's State of the Union. And big news in the race to be the next president. Mitt Romney and Mike Huckabee, both on the verge of jumping in. Governor Huckabee is our exclusive guest this morning. But first, the fast-moving developments in that global terror crackdown. This morning, more arrests in Europe, police raids happening in 4 European countries so far. U.S. investigators also joining in as the international manhunt for sleeper cells heats up. ABC's Alex Marquardt has all the breaking developments from Brussels. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Martha. An intense feeling of nervousness in Europe this morning. You can see here at the American Embassy the increased security measures that have been taken, a scene playing out across the continent as authorities try to prevent another attack.
Across Europe this morning, countries at their highest alert. In France, following the Paris attacks, 120,000 soldiers and police in the streets. In the UK, the threat level against police raised to a level never before seen, indicating an attack is very likely. And here in Belgium, heavily armed troops patrolling the streets for the first time in 30 years.
You can see here these Belgian soldiers armed with machine guns standing outside the American Embassy, one of many sites officials fear could be a target.
As security is beefed up, the authorities are also cracking down. In the past 72 hours, almost 36 people across Europe have been arrested on suspicion of terror-related activity. Just last night, 2 detained in Athens, Greece. Belgian media reporting that authorities are hunting for a 27-year-old Belgian who went to Syria to fight with ISIS, now possibly in Greece. Belgium is a tiny country with just over 11 million people. But some 300 to 400 young men have traveled to Syria to fight, the highest per capita of any Western country. Some of them arrested on Thursday in a series of Belgian raids. Just hours before authorities say a terror cell was going to launch attacks against the police. In their hideout, AK-47s, explosives, and police uniforms. It's not just police who are believed to be some of the main targets, but Europe's Jewish communities as well.
The threat is serious because they are a target we know terrorists like. They need to be protected.
In Paris, where anti-Semitism is on the rise, we saw police evacuating a synagogue.
All the signs are there. You see the police outside of the synagogue? You don't see them outside of a mosque. It's quite logic.
Is it getting worse?
I hope not.
Top European counterterrorism officials say that with all the Europeans going to fight in Syria, there are thousands of potential terrorists who could carry out attacks, another of which they say is inevitable. Martha?
Thanks, Alex. Let's get the very latest on those sweeping terror raids across Europe and new fears that sleeper cells are poised to strike again. Rob Wainwright is tracking all of it as director of the European Union law enforcement agency, Europol. Mr. Wainwright, dozens of people arrested across Europe. What's the connection between them?
Well, what we're seeing now, Martha, actually is a determined police response right across Europe to deal in the aftermath of the terrible attacks in Paris. We've seen action now in Belgium, in Greece, in Berlin, and other locations as well. And it shows, I think, the nature of the threat that we're facing right now. It's spread across so many European countries, perpetrated by a community of possibly thousands of people who have been radicalized on the internet by their conflict experience in Syria and Iraq, and who have, many of them have returned to European society, perhaps some of them with the intent and capability to carry out the attack. And to your question, I'm not sure that there is such a network, an organized network, of people who are operating under a command and control structure. It's a lot more diffuse and unconnected in nature than that.
Which can be even more dangerous, I suspect.
A lot of independent or semi-independent people. Of course, that makes it much more dangerous, Martha, and that's the real challenge that the police face now, not just dealing with the scale of the problem, the numbers of people involved, but the way in which it's much looser than we've seen before. It's not the same as in the days of 9/11 when we had an identifiable command and control structure. Something much more difficult now, moving rather insidiously in our communities and across the internet in particular. It's a real challenge for police right now.
And you have said that Europe is facing its most severe terrorist threat since 9/11, and this might even be worse.
I think it is more difficult, it is more challenging at any time since that period because of the complex way in which it operates in our society. But at the same time, we are seeing a very determined response by national governments, by national police authorities, and at institutions like Europol, urgently reviewing our ways now that we can better support counter-terrorist services everywhere, in the better exchange of intelligence, for example, in the tracking of terrorist financing and illicit firearms, and in particular in monitoring as well terrorist activities online. And in all of these areas, it's important that we scale up our resources so that together we can protect our citizens in a better and stronger way in the future.
We keep hearing this term sleeper cells, a huge concern. Define that for us, and obviously they're secretive, so how do you go about finding them?
Well, let's give you the example of what happened in Paris. Here, counter-terrorist services right across Europe were quite rightly prioritizing their investigation around these people who had just returned from Syria and Iraq, who had embedded them back into society, perhaps some of them planning to carry out terrorist attacks. In the meantime, the people responsible for these outrages in Paris were part of what was thought to be a dormant cell, not active since around 2005 and 2006. So what it shows you is that even so-called older cells sleeping in nature can wake up at any time and carry out terrible attacks. So it's much more complex than we thought. It's important, therefore, as I said, that we increase the scale of our international collaboration, also with the US authorities, so that we can get a better picture of the threat that they pose to society at the moment.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Wainwright.